Hey Wobble Gang, I do hope you are doing great. My name is Ollie. Hit that subscribe button if you love a good Reddit story. Alright, let's get into our first story of the day. Our first story of the day comes from reward specialist 3390 in the Am I the Arsehole subreddit. And it says, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband his mum can't live with us for months-long stretches? My husband and I have been married for almost 2 years, and our son is 10 months old. We live in Canada. I grew up here while my husband immigrated when he was a student. My parents live nearby, which has been invaluable during my pregnancy and since. My mum comes over regularly to help us out. My husband and she are on good terms too, so it's been going well. His parents live in another country. We have visited them once since we got married. That was 7 months ago. The time prior to that was our wedding itself, which took place there. My husband had been talking about my mother-in-law visiting soon for a long visit, which I was happy with. We recently moved into our new house, and I've done a good job decorating it. We have a large guest room, and I was looking forward to hosting her, especially since it would make my husband happy. A couple of days ago, he was complaining about how detailed her visa application was. I told him I was surprised it was so thorough. He told me that it's because, while regular visa forms allow a stay of 6 months max, this one allows 2 years. I asked why she would need a stay of more than 6 months. He said that she had been thinking of winding up her medical practice and basically retiring, and this would then allow her to stay for a longer visit if we all decide that it works. I was stunned. I told him he should just do the regular application because his mum won't be staying for anywhere close to 6 months. I had it in my mind that she'd be staying for like a month. That's how long we stayed when we went there. He said that she's his mum. She tells him how alone she feels. She can't go to my brother-in-law's because he lives with roommates, and we can't just put a timer on her visit here. He said she's been looking forward to helping us out with our son. I told him we don't need help. We manage fine on our own and with my mum's help. I wanted to host his mum as a guest, not as a part of our household. He complained that how was it fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his can't? I was hurt by that because my parents have helped us out a lot, and I asked him if he wants us to limit how often my mum comes to visit. He said no, that's not what he meant. That he likes her, but it wasn't fair to his parents. My reply was that when my mum comes, she goes at the end of the day. That wouldn't be the case with his. I ended it by saying he should look into the easier regular form because she can't be thinking of staying for that long. He chose to sleep on the couch that night and has been cold with me since. I hate that. We've never been cold to each other like this. I talked to my mum too. She said that having his mum live with us for long stretches would definitely affect me. That this is worth fighting for. I haven't seen him working on the application since. Last night, he went out when his mum called. When he came back, I asked him how she took it. He told me he had told her he's looking into what application best suits her. He asked me if I'd changed my mind. I said no. He just shook his head and started watching TV. Am I the a-hole? Update. Okay, hold on a minute. So you're telling me your husband casually drops a bomb that his mum might just up and move into your house for God knows how long, and you're supposed to just be okay with it? Seriously, where's the communication here? I get he wants his mum around, but planning a permanent stay without a word to you? That's on another level. And it's not like you're opposed to her visiting, right? You're ready to open your home, just not indefinitely. He needs to understand it's your life too, not some guest house scenario. Honestly, the unfair comparison to your mum's visits is baffling. Does he not see the difference between a day visit and an extended stay? If I were you, I'd be standing my ground too. What do you all think? Drop your thoughts below, because this situation's boiling over and needs some serious rethinking.
Someone says, not the a-hole. If she's winding up her practice, she can move to Canada in her own place and visit like your mom. There's no need for her to live with you. A Reddit user says, you are not the a-hole. I have a sneaky feeling your husband is trying to sponsor his mother to stay permanently in Canada. This could well have been his plan all along. You need to make it clear to your husband that his mother is not to stay with you for a long period of time, definitely not permanently. OP responds, he said he's just doing it to keep options open if we all decide we are good with a longer stay. I made it clear that I do not see myself ever being okay with that, so it was a moot point. That is where I might have overstepped, because he has been cold to me since then. Even today, he had breakfast before I woke up. I hate this entire situation.
Someone says,
You are not the a-hole. I read long stay and they thought 2 weeks, not 1 month. He complained about how it was fair that my parents could visit whenever they wanted while his can't. This is where the problem is. He thinks your parents living in the same area is the same as his mother living in your house. These are not equivalent situations. You should ask him how he would feel if your parents moved into the spare room for 2 months. If she is already feeling lonely, how is she going to feel after retiring and spending up to 6 months in another country? What is her plan for when she returns? It almost sounds like he wants her to permanently move in with you. Have you discussed that in the past? Is that an expectation in their culture?
OP responds, No, we have never discussed her or his dad moving in. Honestly, some of my extended family in Pakistan do have this arrangement where families live together, but this was never something that was on the cards for us because his parents are well established there. Tassie820 says, if she is staying for 2 years, she can rent a small apartment nearby. What your husband is considering for his mom isn't a visit, it is a major move. To expect her to move in, not simply visit, without even discussing it with you is concerning. As a military wife, 2 years is a move, not a temporary visit. You need the separation for your mental health and for the health of your marriage. She needs time apart too, as retirement is a big transition. She can form her own circle of friends through church, volunteering, or a group based on her own special interests, from hiking groups to knitting circles or whatever she enjoys. Set the boundaries and enjoy her visits, knowing she has her own place to retreat to and friends and activities when you, your husband, and your child need time apart from others. You and your husband need to stop acting out and really talk through the situation. Someone says, not the a-hole. Your husband is engaging in magical thinking. He is lying to you and he prioritizes his mother over you. The magical thinking is that he believes it is unfair that your parents get to spend more time with your child. He chose to leave his country and his parents. That responsibility lies with him. He thinks a woman who does not speak the local language, does not drive, and most importantly, has a household of servants is going to be helpful. The lies to you and to himself include not telling you that he's applying for a 2-year visa. Big lie. Lying to his mother about how long she can stay. Lying to himself that she can be helpful. And there are more lies. For example, his mom wants to move in with her son. He is dishonest to everyone, and he is trying to push you away by ignoring you. Please call him out on it, or have your father do so. He chose to leave his family and home country. He does not like the consequences of that choice. Just a day after sharing her concerns, the OP has returned with an update, and here's what she has to say.
Original post.
Thank you for the feedback in the original post. Yesterday, when he came back from work, I tried to start the conversation again. He had been giving me the cold shoulder since all this started. I told him I'm his wife of 2 years and the mother of his child. This isn't how we're going to communicate. We started talking after that. I held my ground that his mum staying with us for so long wasn't tenable. If she wanted to visit Canada for longer than a couple of months, she would have to live in her own apartment, learn how to drive, or use public transport. She's used to being driven by a hired driver in Pakistan, and a whole bunch of other changes that she'd need to get used to. That I don't see myself changing my mind on this, so he needs to be honest with her and himself, and not go down the "we'll keep our options open" route. He said that he knows her living with us for an extended stay would require some changes on our part, but he was asking me to do this as a favour to him, that I claim to love him, and yet can't do him this favour for his mum. I actually started sobbing when he said this. It was so hurtful that he was using this as a litmus test for our love. I said her being around for years would ruin our parenthood with our first child. That I want us to raise our child the way we see fit, not his mum. Also, all the intimate moments we have, our sex life, everything would suffer. My parents are Pakistani too. I know this will happen. He again asked me to just not shut the door completely. That he'll tell his mum the stay can only be for a month or so, and I can let him know if I think the change wasn't too much.
And we landed on a compromise that, for now, they'll do the regular visa app that only allows a max stay of 6 months. If I change my mind, he'll do the super visa. He then had a long call with his mum, which his older sister also joined. It actually lasted an hour and a half.
He was in the backyard for the call and came back in to grab a chair. It was that long. Also, from what I could see, he was mostly listening for that conversation. When he came back in, he told me to just not answer any calls or messages from his mum or sister. Meanwhile, I've received like 4 missed calls and 20 messages from them, mostly Islamic quotes about the rights of parents. I've told them that I can't talk right now since I'm busy with my son right now. I asked him how it went. He said as well as he expected, but he's not giving me the cold shoulder anymore. I do feel guilty because, like I said, I was actually looking forward to hosting her for a month, and I think this whole thing may have caused irreparable damage, not just to my relationship with my mother-in-law and sister-in-law, but my husband's relationship with his mum and sister. I've told my mother-in-law I'll call her back in a couple of hours, once my husband's back. I'm dreading that conversation, but I know what my boundaries are. Thank you for the feedback. It helped. Edit. Also, one thing that I had to clarify a few times in the last post. A lot of people were like, this is what happens when you marry outside your culture. My husband and I are both of Pakistani descent. Just that I was born here, while he immigrated here as a student.
But he's been here for like a decade now too.
Update. I spoke to my mother-in-law. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I figured I should be the one to call, not my husband. But I put my phone on speaker so that my husband, who was lying on the couch, could also hear it. She said that my husband had told her he thought it'd be best if she restricts her trip to 1 month, since it was her first time in Canada and because we were really busy with my son. She said that ever since my husband had gone to Canada as an 18-year-old, he'd always wanted her to visit for a long duration, and now all of a sudden, he was asking her to restrict it when she wanted to help with her grandson, and said she knew I must be the reason why. I said it was a joint decision because of the circumstances, but she wouldn't hear of it. She said if her visiting for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then that's fine. She'll limit her stay, but I should know that in Pakistan, in-laws live in the same house with the married couple, like my sister-in-law does, and that she had thought I was in touch with my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I was getting married, because that's what my husband had told her. But she was disappointed at how whitewashed I was. At this point, my husband asked me to give him the phone, but not before I told her that I was totally comfortable with how in tune with my heritage I was, and that apparently so was her son. Told her my husband had just come and handed him the phone.
My husband went in the yard to talk, but I was so angry I decided to eavesdrop. He was talking to both my mother-in-law and father-in-law. He told them that it's not like he fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student. They both had happily seen him off at the airport, and that when he had introduced me, he hadn't kept the fact that I was born and raised in Canada a secret either. That they can't expect to treat us like a couple in Pakistan. Then he listened a whole lot for like half an hour. I gave him a chair again, and kept telling them that it's different now. They ended the call with him saying that we were both really looking forward to her visit, that we'll make sure it's a great 30 or so days with us and her grandson. He apologized to me on behalf of his mum and asked me to please let her lecture go and still be on board with the 1-month plan. I'm looking forward to it much less than I was, but I said fine. Oh my, this is one of those moments where I just want to roll my eyes so far back I see yesterday. Let's not even dance around it. The whole idea of using love as a bargaining chip, it's completely unacceptable. I mean, are we really playing the "if you love me, my mum gets a free pass" card? And let me tell you something. The nerve of them guilt-tripping her with every religious quote in the book. Who thought that would work? As if spiritual guilt would magically make her household problems disappear. But wait, there's more. After all this back and forth, now she's faced with the dreaded call to mother-in-law land. Subtly getting branded, whitewashed for not complying with antiquated expectations. Seriously? Also, credit where credit's due. Kudos to her husband for finally sticking up for her. I mean, it's about time, right? But the damage is done, and that shadow is now looming over what could have been an anticipated visit. Absolutely unreal. I know I'm not the only one feeling this strange cocktail of exasperation and relief. I mean, who else couldn't believe this drama? Share your thoughts because this diatribe was intense. A Reddit user says, "She's 100% moving in with you. She's just going to show up one day. Keep bags packed for you and your child. as well as have all relevant paperwork such as birth certificate and passport handy. Sadly, he'll cave to his mom, and you know it. A Reddit user says, not the a-hole times 1,000. If mother-in-law moves in, your marriage will be over. The strain and resentment will be insurmountable. Better that mother-in-law and sister-in-law are unhappy than your family's life implodes. Just a day later, the OP comes with an update, and it says,
I'm not sure how these updates work. I had edited it over there too, but someone had messaged me saying an update needs to be a separate post rather than an edit. This is just for those people who had given me a lot of great advice on holding the line and had asked for an update to my phone call with my mother-in-law. Original post. Update 1. I spoke to my mother-in-law. Since her missed calls and text messages were asking me to call her, I figured I should be the one to call, not my husband. But I put my phone on speaker so that my husband, who was lying on the couch, could also hear it. She said that my husband had told her he thought it'd be best if she restricted her trip to 1 month, since it was her first time in Canada and because we were really busy with my son. She said that ever since my husband had gone to Canada as an 18-year-old, he'd always wanted her to visit for a long duration, and now, all of a sudden, he was asking her to restrict it when she wanted to help with her grandson, and said she knew I must be the reason why. I said it was a joint decision because of the circumstances, but she wouldn't hear of it. She said if her visiting for more than a month was so outrageous to us, then that's fine, she'll limit her stay, but I should know that in Pakistan, in-laws live in the same house with the married couple, like my sister-in-law does, and that she had thought I was in touch with my Islamic and Pakistani roots when I was getting married, because that's what my husband had told her, but she was disappointed at how whitewashed I was.
At this point, my husband asked me to give him the phone, but not before I told her that I was totally comfortable with how in tune with my heritage I was, and that apparently so was her son. I told her my husband had just come and handed him the phone. My husband went in the yard to talk, but I was so angry I decided to eavesdrop. He was talking to both my mother-in-law and father-in-law. He told them that it's not like he fled to Canada in the middle of the night as a student. They both had happily seen him off at the airport, and that when he had introduced me, he hadn't kept the fact that I was born and raised in Canada a secret either. That they can't expect to treat us like a couple in Pakistan. Then he listened a whole lot for like half an hour. I gave him a chair again, and kept telling them that it's different now. They ended the call with him saying that we were both really looking forward to her visit, that we'll make sure it's a great 30 or so days with us and her grandson. He apologised to me on behalf of his mum and asked me to please let her lecture go and still be on board with the 1 month plan. I'm looking forward to it much less than I was, but I said fine. Thanks a lot again for the advice. Along with my mother, I was able to get good advice from here too, and I think I've managed to resolve this issue. I know myself. I know my mother-in-law staying over for years wasn't something I could deal with, and knowing a lot of people agreed was really helpful.
Oh my, this is really sad when family expectations collide with individual lives. Listen, here's where I lost it. The overt audacity of the mother-in-law. Expectation versus reality, right? It's like, oh, because your husband's off in Canada, let's just crash at your place indefinitely. And the worst part is the manipulation. Tossing around subtle guilt trips about heritage and being whitewashed. It's absolutely ridiculous. Who makes these rules anyway? You can't just burst into someone's life and enforce ancient norms. Seriously, kudos to the husband for backing up his wife. He shows integrity in the face of such absurd pressure. At this point, I'm just laughing. Why? Because unrealistic expectations are being shattered left and right, and I live for it. If you're watching this, you felt that too. Drop your thoughts below because I need someone to tell me I'm sane after this madness.
A Reddit user says, her visit is going to be a nightmare. I can't imagine she will just let this drop. She now has it in her head that you are a problem. This is why your husband should never have agreed to anything before talking to you initially. A Reddit user says, that's the thing. You're not in Pakistan. You're in Canada. When you move to another country, you do your best to assimilate. Things change. If they want to stay for a month, why can't your in-laws and you pay for an Airbnb? The whole time your mother-in-law will be there, she'll be undermining you. Be sure to tell your husband that you reserve the right to say when enough is enough, and it's time for them to go home. Good luck. OP responds, she wants to spend time with us as a family, So she wants to stay at our place, and so does my husband. Since it's for a month now, I'll make it work. I just hope the month goes smoothly. About 3 weeks after the initial discussion regarding her mother-in-law's potential long-term stay, the OP returns with a new update, stating, Original post. After I had updated here last time, I was fully committed to graciously hosting my mother-in-law for 31 days and not a day more. Since then, we had one unpleasant exchange on Eid a few days ago. I had posted about it on the subreddit regarding mother-in-law issues. This is what I had posted. My mother-in-law is going to be visiting near the end of April for a month. For context, we live in Canada. I was born here, my husband immigrated a decade ago, we got married 2 years ago, and our son is 10 months old. My in-laws live in Pakistan. My parents moved to Canada from Pakistan a year before I was born. My mother-in-law had initially planned on staying longer, but I had put my foot down and told my husband I couldn't deal with someone living with us for longer than a month, so she had to cut short her plan and didn't take that well. I had actually posted about this somewhere else previously and had been privately messaged to take a look at this subreddit. I had made my peace with the 1-month stay and was fully planning on being cordial during it. Yesterday, we had celebrated Eid at my parents' house. It was our first Eid with our son, and we were all so happy about it, getting to dress him in his cute little traditional kurta salwar. I sent her some pictures of the event because she always asks us to send her pictures. Her reply was not what I expected. She started lamenting how far we were from them and said that this is the problem with marrying someone not from Pakistan, that the parents suffer as a result. How unfair it is that my parents get her son and grandson to themselves. My heart literally shrank reading it. I knew she missed us, but to hear her say she essentially regrets our marriage was so hurtful. I just left her on read. I showed it to my husband. He sincerely apologized and thanked me for not responding to her. I have to host her for a month. How am I supposed to do that now? I would have normally asked my mum for advice on this stuff, since she's more well acquainted with dealing with someone from Pakistan. But I actually feel she'll lose it at my mother-in-law when she visits if I share this with her. I just wanted some advice, and partly wanted to vent. I'm trying to compartmentalize this because we're still celebrating Eid today with some friends, and I don't want this to bring me down. Any advice would be appreciated. Today's update. Today, my husband told me that her visa application had been rejected. They're applying for the notes regarding the decision, but according to him, it's futile. That it was always a 50-50 shot. That the most common reason for rejections is having insufficient ties back home, which makes them think the applicant won't go back. That he had thought having my father-in-law remain there would have fixed that, but apparently not. I'm not going to lie. It's like a huge weight has been lifted off me. I'm trying to act disappointed, but I was dreading her visit. He said she was inconsolable when he spoke to her earlier, that she had asked him to look into us moving to Pakistan. I love Pakistan, but it's never going to happen. When he shut that down, she gave him his uncle's number, who lives in the UAE for job leads, so we could move to the UAE. Again, I'm sure it's a great place, but no, so that we could be a 2-hour flight away from them and have our family grow in an Islamic environment. He told her it's going to be difficult, but agreed to talk to him. I was a bit angry about this. I told him there's no way we're moving to the UAE. He said, of course we're not. We've built a life here. He has a great career here, but he didn't want to completely shut down his mum. I personally disagree with that. I think she deserves the truth, but whatever. I'm going to talk to her to commiserate tomorrow. It's too late in Pakistan now. Because again, while I was no longer looking forward to hosting her, I was fully committed to doing so. Unfortunately, this does mean that most of our family vacations will have to be in Pakistan now, since they can't visit us here. We already need to go there in December because they're planning to have his brother's wedding done then. Thank you to everyone who gave me advice here. It sucks that we have all this bad blood now for no reason. Like, I'm sure she hates me now. And while I've tried very hard to forget what she said about my upbringing and heritage, I can't. And I see her in a whole new light now. I'm going to be comforting to my husband about this, but maybe it was for the best. Edit. Our phone call went well for like the first 2 minutes, when I expressed how sorry I was that she wouldn't be able to come, and the visa officers should have been more considerate. It went downhill soon after. She then said that this probably means she'll never be able to visit Canada, and a few weeks a year isn't enough. That my parents have gotten to be close to us for 2 years. Now it should be their right. So did my husband call his uncle, since he wasn't answering her texts? I said, I don't know, but it won't work anyway. We live in Canada. We've started a family here.
We have a support system here. My husband has a great career here. But we will definitely have as many vacations together as possible, so she could spend time with my son. She then went on about how my sister-in-law, her daughter, has been living with her in-law since she got married, how bad her mother-in-law is, how lucky I was to have such loving in-laws who just want to be close to us, and I should be more grateful. I told her I'm grateful for my son, my husband, and for everything we have. I told her I needed to go and ended the call before I said anything more to her, while she's still down in the dumps about the visa. I texted my husband this immediately before she gets to him. He's probably not going to be happy, since he wanted us to let her be comforted by the UAE idea. But I don't care anymore. I'm only going to call her on important occasions now, like Eid, and to send pictures if my husband asks. But that's it. A sincere thank you to the visa officer who made the decision. Where do I even start with this? Let me tell you something. Dealing with in-law dynamics can be an absolute walking on eggshells experience, without a doubt. And this story? It's a textbook example of how complicated family logistics can be. I mean, this mother-in-law sounds like a perpetual drama factory. I'm actually speechless. First, the guilt trip about living far away. And now, the dramatic visa saga? Are we serious right now? And the worst part is, our narrator here is roped into making the disappointment seem genuine. I can't even. A rejected visa should have been a relief for her, not a new reason for negotiations on family relocation. Like, what are we even doing here? As if convincing someone to abandon their life in Canada for a far-fetched prospect in the UAE would solve all problems. If you're listening to this, you felt that too. It's unreal. I honestly feel like a round of applause is warranted for how the situation was handled with grace and patience. This one's a family tension rollercoaster, folks. Tell me I'm crazy, but that was exhausting just to read. Someone says, instead of every vacation being in Pakistan, consider planning some holidays to meet in-laws in some other location to which they can travel. OP responds, that's such a great idea. I'll bring it up for sure when the time comes. Thank you.
A Reddit user says, you're not the a-hole in any of this. I'm going to tell you a story though. Since you're from Canada, you may get these references. My grandparents moved from rural Saskatchewan farms to Ottawa way back in the 50s. Every year, their vacation was to go back home to see their parents, along with their combined 13 siblings and numerous nieces and nephews. They took their eventual 4 kids. They went for every family reunion. When someone was diagnosed with something bad, every funeral. You get the picture. My great-grandmother? She lived to be 101. So my grandfather went to see her every year for over 60 years, to the point that my grandmother couldn't do the trip due to needing an oxygen tank, and he ended up having a literal heart attack leaving the plane. The only other place they ever traveled to was a 2-week bus tour of Ireland. After they came back, my grandmother looked me dead in the eye and said she would regret for the rest of her life that they didn't balance it out better, that all they ever saw was home and the farm they grew up on. Don't have that regret. By all means, visit his family, but don't make it every vacation.
OP responds, that was harrowing. Thank you for sharing that. And yeah, not every vacation can be in Pakistan or with my in-laws. The 3 of us need to make memories of our own. Thank you for sharing. Months later, the OP returns with an update and shares, my husband, our son, and I are set to go to Pakistan in a couple of weeks for his brother's wedding. I know that alone might make me the a-hole, as I have been hoping I'd stop feeling this way for no particular reason. His mother does not like me. She has literally told me that my husband shouldn't have married someone from Canada. My parents are Pakistani. I was born here, and he came here when he was a student about a decade ago. My mother-in-law had been planning a long 2-year trip here until I said it could be a month at maximum, which caused bad blood. Her visa got rejected anyway, which meant she couldn't come at all. She laments every time we talk, which I now avoid, about how far her son and grandson are from her, and had even been pushing him into getting a job in the Middle East, if not Pakistan, which both of us obviously shut down as an option. We are supposed to be going there for 2.5 weeks, for the wedding and then a few days afterward too. As the days are counting down, I'm not feeling good about taking our son with us there, and I want to leave him with my parents, who live 5 minutes away from us. I know this seems like I don't trust my husband. I absolutely do. But I guess I don't trust the circumstances in Pakistan, especially when it comes to my son. I know they're all keenly waiting to see him, and they'll be disappointed. As things stand, I will probably decide to tell my husband today that I'm not okay with taking him with us, even if the verdict is that I'm an a-hole. I just wanted to know if the abruptness and the implication that I don't trust what could happen there would make me somewhat of an a-hole.
Let me tell you something. This situation is a tangled mess wrapped in a suitcase of cultural expectations. Seriously, on one hand, I get the fear of taking your little one to a country where you're not quite sure of the circumstances. But on the other hand, you've got this looming family dynamic screaming for some sort of diplomatic miracle. Your mother-in-law sounds absolutely relentless in her disapproval, and the fact that she's never been shy about voicing it adds fuel to an already volatile fire. The audacity! And here you are, stuck in the middle. Now that I think about it, expressing your concerns to your husband isn't the problem. It's a matter of explaining it in a way that doesn't put a wedge in the family or imply you distrust him. A delicate dance, isn't it? But you know what? You're not crazy for wanting to protect your son or for harboring anxiety about the visit. And let's be real, leaving your son with your parents who are 5 minutes away, that's just pure practical thinking. If you're feeling this way, you need to have that open conversation with your husband, regardless of how anyone else feels about it. Drop your thoughts, folks, because this is a genuine dilemma that many face in culturally blended marriages. It's a balancing act, and oh my God, it can be exhausting.
A Reddit user says, "Why even go? Just let your husband go and spend time with his family. She's already openly told you her feelings. There's no reason to pretend anymore. Just enjoy your time with your kid and family. Not the a-hole. She can still visit if she wants. She just can't do the months-long visits."
OP Pop's response.
"It will put my husband in a really bad spot if I'm not there. People will be asking him, and I'm going for his sake. I'm not worried about myself there. I can't imagine them wanting me to stay longer. We're going to have to cut our trip shorter anyway. At least I will have to if my son is here. I can't be there for 2.5 weeks. The days after the wedding will have to be cut short." A Reddit user says, "The only way you are the a-hole is putting it off for so long to say no. Otherwise, not the a-hole 100%. I really don't know why you are going, but there is certainly no way you should take the baby." OP provides more information in the comments by stating, "I know I messed up there. It was originally supposed to be in December, but it got moved forward. But even then, I had time. I just wasn't feeling uncomfortable about it until it got closer." Aegon 2050 says, "You're never an a-hole for wanting to protect your baby. Having followed your previous posts, very reasonable assumptions can be made about your in-laws. They cannot be trusted and should have behaved themselves if they wanted access to your baby. Never question yourself regarding these toxic matters. You're not the a-hole. Update me."
Weeks later, the OP comes with an update and says, "A few people have been concerned about whether I was okay. And so I just wanted to update that we're back in Canada now."
So I know this might annoy a lot of you, but contrary to a lot of advice about not taking my son and not going myself either, we both did accompany my husband. I had opened up to my husband about my fears, about how it had been messing with me. He sincerely gave me his word that he is absolutely committed to the life we have here, that we will be coming back and that he won't put us in harm's way like that. He said his mum was difficult, but stopping us from going back was not something she would ever do. So I chose to trust him. The days leading up to the wedding were good. Maybe because we were all so busy with all the events. My son and I didn't get sick, fortunately, but my husband fell ill almost as soon as we landed. And my mother-in-law was nice during those days, putting me front and center in all the events, introducing me to everyone, and that half of the trip went well. After the wedding, my husband took the three of us for a couple of days to the northern mountainous part of the country, Bourbon. She had objected to that, saying these days were supposed to be for spending with them, and even insisted that we leave our son behind. But I was completely opposed to that. We had a good time there. When we came back, she acted the way I had been dreading. There were remarks about how my husband had made a mistake marrying someone in Canada. Apparently, when he and she were out grocery shopping, she had lectured him on how he was supposed to have gone to Canada to study and make a professional career, not to find a girl. That she had raised him better than to only prioritize looks in a partner. Which, infuriating as it was also low-key flattering, lol.
This is what I had needled out of him, so the reality was worse, I imagine. We had hosted some family friends of theirs one night, and when they left, she made it known how compatible their daughter would have been with my husband, how willing they had been, etc. I kept the peace for his sake for the most part, but here I snapped and told her she shouldn't have sent her son to Canada then. She should have kept him here and had him marry a nice Pakistani girl. I later told him if she kept this up, we'd all be moving to a hotel for the remainder of the trip. And I think he spoke to her because she made the disrespect less explicit after that. But that's how the latter half went. I mostly either kept to our room or went with him wherever he took us. So, whatever. It's done now, I guess. And our son was doted on by everyone there, and he was happy. His parents had brought up us moving to Pakistan or the UAE again the night before our flight back. My husband told them he'd recently been promoted. He had a career. We'd bought a house. We had a life in Canada. She got tearful again, about how little she gets to see us, as opposed to my parents who can visit whenever. This is certainly not something we can do every year. His brother was getting married, so we had to do this trip. But this is not how I want our family vacations to be. We need to be having vacations as a family, just the three of us, in places that aren't Pakistan too. And I'm going to let him know about that. Thank you to everyone who's given me advice and support in all this. I truly appreciate it.
Vuda Will says, sounds like it worked out as well as could be expected given your mother-in-law's attitude. Glad your husband fully had your back. It's what made it work.
OP responds, yeah, I guess, but it did make me appreciate how her staying in our place long-term would have destroyed our marriage. I can't be more thankful that her visa got rejected. A Reddit user says, can you not see at all where she is coming from though? She absolutely crossed the lines with comments towards you and the whole family friend thing. That was absolutely not okay. But do you see how she's right? You said your mom visits daily and she can't even see her son and grandson every year? At some point, your husband may become resentful of this as well. It's understandable that she wants her son and grandson to be closer to her, just like your parents want to be close to you as well. I guess maybe it's the way I was raised and my culture. But if my partner didn't get to see his parents or family and they had the chance to come to the US and visit, I would have no problem with them staying with us. As long as they are respectful, they would be welcome for that time because I know they aren't able to visit often. Nature's Vivid Pictures says, well, I'm glad all went well. I think I would have been extremely against going to Pakistan. There are just too many variables and uncertainties right now with every place. But I'm glad you made it back home and everyone is safe and sound. And your husband stood up for you and your relationship. Now she can make herself a pest in her other son's life, who lives in Pakistan, I presume.
Oh my God. This woman deserves a bloody medal, doesn't she? It sounds like one drama-filled saga, doesn't it? All the tales of feuding mother-in-laws and mismatched family dynamics. And you know what? I bet half of you have lived it yourselves and feel every painful moment. Man, it's a saga worthy of its own mini-series, isn't it? And now, if you've survived through all that chaos with me, there's a lot more where it came from. You know, stories full of family intrigue, unexpected twists, and all that jazz that really gets your emotions going. Whether it's laughter, disbelief, or a collective sigh of, why on earth? Our channel's got enough tales to drive anyone mad. So why not give another one a whirl? And, for crying out loud, tell me your thoughts. Was that in-law story maddening, or was it just me? Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. Drop your comments because I am dying to hear your stories. Seriously, I need another therapeutic rant session. Until next time, more stories and craziness await. You won't want to miss it.